talk about female friendships, sisterhood friendships. So my friend Eva was here yesterday. You will see her in the thumbnail because I'm gonna create a sweet thumbnail because we took some very cute pictures, and we haven't really connected to each other since like 6 months. We really were seeing each other and talking because she was abroad and she was traveling, and there was so much going on. And we finally met, and it was so cool. And I felt so blessed to have friendships like that. And so I was like, let's create a video on that. So, growing up, I was so blessed that I had really great best friends, and I could always rely on them. I was always 100% sure that they were always there for me. I spent a lot of time with them, and it was such a blessing. And even though probably because we were just children and teenager, we cannot say that this friendship was like perfect, but I always knew, even when we had fights, I always knew we're gonna be friends like anyways. So I always had the certainty and the safety and the secureness in these feminine friendships, which was such a blessing for me because this gave my life so much stability growing up. And I always knew that they were there, and even if something was like happening, or you had like, your first crush and then something happened, I always knew that my female friendships are always going to be there. So I always prioritize them. So it was always like they were like always number one. So I really learned a lot from these friendships that I had growing up, and I'm so thankful and so blessed that I was able to spend so much time growing up with them. I have so many fun memories where we did like sleepovers and like playing games and like going for walks in the evening, and we had like rabbits. So my best friend was my neighbor, and she had rabbits, and then I also took care of the rabbits with her. And my mom didn't want to buy me rabbits, so I was always like, these are also my rabbits. And we always like picked up like greens and grass for them, and it was so much fun. But the most valuable thing was that I always knew that I have their bag and that they have my bag. And I had these like especially two best friends where from the age from 3 to like 16, they were always by my side, and I could always rely on them. And it was just so beautiful, and I'm so thankful that I have this foundation of friendships, and it made it so much easier for other like friendships with women. And but I also had this pattern, especially in my teenage years, that I had quite a lot of male friends, when you can say that. And I realized the more my feminine energy is healing, the more I am attracted to having more healthy female friendships instead of being friends with men. And this is so interesting for me to see because I believe, or what I found for myself, and I saw in other women as well, or other girls, is that often, not always, but often, when I was more around guys, I subconsciously tried to seek more approval, or for example, I didn't feel safe in my body, so I felt more protected around men than around women. Actually, that was like, I was really in survival mode, so I was like thinking that I have to be safe, and I felt more safe when I'm around guys because they could protect me physically more than another woman. Um, and the more safe I feel in my body, the more I was not needing that anymore, and I can just surrender and be relaxed and be with my girlfriends and just have a good time. And I think it's so cool to see other women, they just get you because you're physically experiencing similar things, like your cycle, your period, but just also your perspective on life is different, and your brain is also different. than just a male, just like, yeah, like a male. So I found that female friendships are so extremely valuable and so extremely beautiful and important. And the cool thing is that when I did my inner work and when I healed more my feminine energy, that I automatically attract more beautiful women and even more amazing women and just more amazing friendships without having to try to get great girlfriends. Even the relationships I had and the friendships I had, they became better because I was more healed, because I was more open for love, because I was more loving. And it is just so cool because when we feel sad or when I feel sad, I can just go to my girlfriends and just like be open and cry. And I like growing up, I mean I grew up in Germany, so I think like males and boyfriend like friendships are very socially acceptable and like do like you can just do it. And I have no problem with doing that, but I just realized for myself that really close and intimate friendships between women and men, for me personally, don't really work anymore because I think when you're really open and really intimate emotionally, it's so easy that one of us is like creating some kind of feelings, because it's just normal that when you spend a lot of time with each other that someone develops feelings. And actually we had a subject in university called like romantic relationships, and this is more from a Christian perspective. So yeah, what they advise us to do, it's not rules, but we can decide what we want to do. And there are some guidelines. I can just share what we learned, and we can decide if this is something we want to adapt or not. And yes, in some cultures this is like normal human sense, and everyone is doing it, and maybe in some Western countries it is not as normal anymore. So one thing is that if we're dating anyone, to not go into people's home, to not spend time on, I don't know, in your room, on a couch, wherever you like, in a very private space where where you could be more intimate than we maybe want. And it's just more, if you do Netflix and chill with a bro, obviously, but even with someone you're dating, you can easily be more intimate than we want to, just because the setting allows it. When we are in a public space like a restaurant, we can get to know someone, but publicly we're normally like socialized to not get more intimate in this kind of space. So choosing the environment where you spend time with people and the setting just makes just as important. And I think this advice is so valuable, and I personally did not get taught all of these things that I learned in university growing up. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I know that yeah, things cannot end as we want to, maybe when we are in situations that are just allowing it to go this way or go more far than we actually want. So the second thing that we're talking about in like this class about relationships is that in the first weeks and months of dating, do not get intimate even with kissing and things like that. So you just see, hey, do I really like that person, with all of these hormones and like this physical connection being created. So no, like sex after marriage, that is like what we believe as Christian and what a lot of people are doing. And so that's out of question at this point here. But even like being like kissing and like holding hands, a lot of things, and like really intimately hugging, to not do these things just to see, hey, do I really like that person, or do I like that I feel desired, or do I like that I feel loved, or do I like that somebody is like giving me this intimacy that I'm craving, and really see, hey, is this a person that I can see myself marrying? Is this a person that I want to have a family with? Is this the person that I want to have as a wife, as a father? And I think this is so valuable and such valuable advice to just see, hey, is this a person that I can see myself spend my life with, instead of just like getting like maybe the things I desire, such as like closeness and like intimacy. And that's why I believe close female friendships are so important, because obviously you're not doing with your female friendships what you're doing in marriage with your husband, but still like this affection and this lovingness and this hugging and just like physical contact you can do with women in a safe space. You can like hug your friends when you're sad. You can just like kiss your friends on the cheek, like that's why having this like female support system, and in general like your family support system, and also like older wiser women and men in your life that just meet your needs so you don't have all of these unmet needs. Because when we have a lot of unmet needs, such as we don't have these like fulfilling relationships, such as friendships with our family, maybe with our cousin, with our siblings, with our parents, with our aunts, with like older, just more wise. So what I'm a really big fan of is having older, more wise people in my life that I can ask for support, and that I see that their life is speaking what I want to. So they look healthy, they are healthy, they have a healthy marriage. So I can just go to them and just ask for advice. And I always thought, oh, maybe there's like in my like immediate family, there's no one where I can like always go and like get advice, or because of past things that were happening, I'm like, I don't know if I want to get their advice, or I'm easily like offended. It doesn't have to be like our parents or aunts. It could be people from our church, just people who we have in our network, and just focusing on building healthy and great relationships outside of a romantic relationship, one romantic relationship, that is just so important. Because when you then are dating someone, your whole energy and your whole focus and all of your needs are not just focused and projected on this one person, and you still have all these other healthy supporting relationships in your life. So yeah, what else did we learn? And just just dating. So we talked about, I'm just going to share some lessons we learned in my college year where I'm right now, where we had this topic of romantic relationships. So one thing we learned is, hey, when we have a romantic relationship and when we are married, we are going to have our problems and the problems of our wife and our husband, because we are one now. So it's great to first take the time and look at our own heart and do the inner work with a God, and be a healthy individual to attract and have a husband who is mirroring that back to us, so we can have a healthy union and we can have a healthy bonding. So that's one thing. And the other thing is just to go on dates, to just genuinely get to know people and just enjoy meeting people and are genuinely interested. I think having the focus on, hey, really, as I just said, is this person really interesting? Is this person someone who shares the same values as like I have? And then being really clear on what are my values. So first of all, my faith. Do they like share the same faith? Do they live it and embody it the way I want to live it and the way I want to teach it my kids? Because if my husband is going in this direction and I'm going in this direction, first of all, we cannot go together in one direction, and one direction. And what are we gonna teach our kids? They're gonna be so confused. Mom is doing this and dad is doing this. So yes, values, and first of all, being clear about what is important for us. So maybe it's, so I value very much, first of all, my faith should be the same, and the way we live it. And then for me, it's very important to have healthy connection, healthy bonding, warmth, and like really loving and just really expressing love. So for me, I would really appreciate it, and for me, it's important that I have a husband who really like openly like says I love you, like shows it, and not only feels it. And then for me, for example, it's really important to have kids and to have multiple kids, for example, and like a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy, being like eating healthy and like being fit, being sportive, being active, and yeah, just know what is important to us, and be clear about it, and obviously always also like embody it and do it, and then just generally get to know people. Who are they? What is important to them? And maybe it's just not a match, but it's just fun to get to know each other. And that's why it's so important and cool, actually, if we do not have this physical and intimate contact yet, because then only we can like look at the person and not at the feeling that he is creating with me just because we kissed. Because when we're kissing, we're exchanging like so intimate energy, and I'm like all over the moon, and I'm not gonna see, or I would be like, yeah, okay, maybe this is not as important as for me, but it's okay. This is the person I'm gonna marry, and this is the person I'm gonna be spending the rest of my life, and it's the person who's gonna be my husband, the father of my kids, the grandfather of my grandchildren, and he's gonna pass on his DNA, so he's gonna pass on a lot of his beliefs. So just to check it out, I went from female friendships to relationships and what we learned. But I think these are like so close connected, because at the end it's all relationships, and it's our ability to have healthy connection with other human beings. And yes, what I also really changed my relationships is truly feeling loved. And I thought that other people make me feel loved when I grew up, and then I realized I can decide that I feel loved, and I can decide and change my beliefs around love. So what are my beliefs around the topic of love? So growing up, my family, like, we didn't really express a lot of love and affection, and we didn't talk about it. So I just put all of the things that I saw that was not healthy together and associated that with love. And seeing in my church where I am, like really healthy marriages and really great husbands and really beautiful wives and like really healthy family systems. I actually lived for 5 weeks with a family from my church, and it was such a beautiful experience to see how they are living family, how the kids, they were so secure attached. You could just feel it. They were so open for other people. They felt so secure around them. You could just see it. And I was like, they inspired me so much. And it was just so beautiful to see how they live like a family, and how they connect to each other, how they express their anger, how they solve conflicts. And a very important thing is also, how do we solve conflicts. What is our conflict behavior? So we're normally adapting the conflict behavior that we learned in our family system growing up, and either this was a healthy one, maybe your parents talk with you about the problems, they find good solutions with you, they listen to your feelings, and they told you how they felt, and there were healthy consequences, but also a lot of love and compassion and grace. Then you were very blessed and you automatically learned how to solve conflicts in a healthy and beautiful and actually in a way that conflicts brings you closer to the other person. And maybe on the other side, you grew up with parents who were really fighting a lot, who were never really able to solve conflicts, who were even getting abusive in conflict resolution. And then you just learned somehow you don't know how to solve conflicts in a healthy and good way. And really learning how to solve conflicts in a good and healthy way helped me a lot. And seeing other people how they solve conflicts in a healthy way. And for me, I could only really learn it and adapt it no matter how much I read about it, no matter how much I learned about it, how I consciously were accumulating knowledge. When I was in an environment where I saw people, as human beings, we are learning best by modeling other people. When I saw other people like this family, like other people who are healthy, good, loving, emotionally secure people, solving conflicts in a loving and healthy, beautiful way, I didn't feel safe doing that a lot of like weeks and months. But by seeing them doing it and then adopting the behavior for myself, I have now a pretty good healthy behavior in conflict resolution. And I think having the skill yourself, you will see there are just some people who you cannot solve conflicts in a really healthy and good way because they're unable, and it's really hard. You obviously can do your best, but it's hard to find common ground with people who do not have the ability to solve conflicts in a healthy and good way. So when we are dating and we are in friendships, whatever, dating or friendships, just to see and to have friends who also have this healthy way of conflict resolution. So this is really, really cool, and this is so important. And yes, I went such a big circle from female friendships to this point, but at the end it's all about relationships and interacting with other human beings. And one thing I also learned is that as I'm understanding myself more and the way I am working and my subconscious is working and my body is working, and how I have created protection mechanism to protect myself from hurt in the past, how I cope with things, I understand people better, because at the end we all are human beings, we are the same species, and we have experienced all different things and we are programmed differently, but our hardware is the same. So it is so cool to see. Yes, so this is what I have experienced personally around the topic of relationships and female friendships. If you have any other questions around the topic of relationships, interacting with others, healthy bonding, then you can just write them in the comments and I will happily create another video around that topic. I hope this video was valuable to you and you learned some great lessons. I am so excited to see you in the next video, and bye bye! Actually, I created a really, really, really cool printable PDF that you can buy, and the link will be in the bio. I am finding out how to like upload them and so you can buy them, so you can buy it. So the link will be there in a few days when I figured it all out. And yes, it's super cool. It's like maybe 15 pages long, and you can print it, and there are journal prompts, there are exercises you can do, there are affirmations. It is so cool. I am so excited to hear feedback from you. Yes, I wish you a beautiful day. Much love. Bye bye.